Good afternoon, I'm Shawn Yao, and this is One News Now. Military officials face the Senate as they discuss the alleged red tagging of celebrities. Lieutenant General Antonio Parlade insists that they are just asserting their duty to protect the public from communist groups. Mean Los Baños is on the line to tell us more. Mean, what's the latest? I know the hearing is still ongoing up to now.
Yes, Sean, good afternoon. Lieutenant General Antonio Parlade continued to deny claims of red tagging of celebrities during the Senate hearing today. The military official instead stuck to the narrative that he was instead trying to defend actresses like Liza Soberano from netizens who were red tagging them. Several lawmakers have called out Parlade for warning celebrities of suffering the same fate as killed activists if they get associated with communist troops. National Security Advisor Secretary Hermogenes Esperon meanwhile clarified that red tagging is not a matter of policy within the NTF-LCAC program. National Intelligence Coordinating Agency Director General Alex Monteagudo insisted that they are mandated to inform and protect public against supposed members of communist groups. During the hearing, Senate President Tito Soto asked about alleged rape and other sexual abuses being committed by NPA leaders to their subordinates. Lady Desiree Miranda, who was the former chairman of Anakbayan Central Luzon, testified before the committee and said she was a victim of sexual abuse when she was 18 years old. Meanwhile, representatives from the mga Kabayan bloc did not attend today's Senate hearing. They instead sent a lawyer to read their statement. The bloc also insisted that since their inclusion in the lower house, they have been able to succeed in fighting for programs which benefited the public, like salary increase and free education. Sean?
All right, thank you so much for that update, Mean Los Baños, joining us live from Senate. And state insurer PhilHealth fully supports President Duterte's anti-corruption campaign. In a statement, spokesman Ray Balena said they will fully cooperate with the investigation into the alleged corruption within the agency. Balena also reiterated that they are expediting the completion of their 1.1 billion peso debt to the Philippine Red Cross. In his address to the nation on Monday, the president read the names of PhilHealth officials who were suspended over anomalies. The president said delaying the benefits of PhilHealth members is tantamount to criminal negligence on the part of these officials. The health department logs more than 1,700 new COVID-19 cases on Tuesday, and this brings the total caseload to more than 387,000. Some 30,800 of these cases are still active. The virus killed 49 individuals in the last 24 hours, pushing the death toll to over 7,300. Recoveries now stand at 348,900, as 150 people have gotten better from the virus. And the NDRRMC has the death toll from Raleigh currently at 17. Majority of the deaths were caused by drowning in flooded areas, while one was caused by the Lahar flow near Mayon volcano. More than 400,000 families were affected by the typhoon from regions 2 to 5 in the NCR. Some 170 COVID-19 patients and 470 medical staff were evacuated from quarantine and testing facilities. For its part, the Agriculture Department estimates a 1.75 billion peso worth of damage and losses due to the typhoon. And these include rice, corn, other high-value crops, livestock, and agri-facilities. The DA, though, assures affected farmers and fishermen of assistance. A quick response fund of 400 million pesos will be used for the rehabilitation of damaged areas. We're going to take a quick break, but we will be back with more stories after that. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Shawn Yao. The locals of Catanduanes are appealing for a supply of food and water as Rolly battered the area on Sunday. Authorities are also asking telcos to fast-track the repair of communication lines in the province. To tell us more about this, Romel Lopez joins us live from Legazpi City. Romel, what's the latest from down there?
The island of Catanduanes was almost flattened to the ground during the onslaught of Rolly over the weekend. Most of the survivors thought it would be their last day on Earth while Rolly was ravaging their area. With the help of the Philippine Coast Guard, we saw wide devastation brought about by Rolly in Catanduanes. The structures from houses to business establishments seems to have been flattened by the super typhoon. An estimated 30,000 families in the province were badly affected. Some 10,700 houses, meanwhile, were damaged. Most of the survivors we talked to were still shaken by the typhoon. The government has brought relief goods to the victims, but the DSW said this will not be enough. Residents are appealing for a supply of food and water as commerce in the province stopped. Authorities initially had a hard time communicating with Catanduanes LGU, but they were able to establish communication line to mainland Bicolandia on Monday. Sean, at least 4 people were killed in Catanduanes during the typhoon. 62 were injured, while 1 person remains missing. But this figure can possibly go up anytime as they still await reports from other areas. Local officials are appealing to telco companies to hasten their rehabilitation in the area to establish improved communication line. Sean?
Thank you very much. Romel Lopez joining us live from Legazpi City. Stay safe out there, Romel. Meanwhile, the Environment Department orders a halt to quarrying operations near the Mayon volcano after the fatal lahar flow in the wake of the typhoon. But officials from Albay are insisting that quarrying operators are not solely to blame for these incidents. Shaila Francisco with the report.
The Environment Department has suspended all quarrying operations around Mayon volcano following the landslide in Albay during the onslaught of Typhoon Rolly. The order comes as President Duterte instructed the DNR and DPWH to probe the complaints of residents who blamed quarrying activities for the accidents in the area. In a meeting last night, the DNR disclosed that some quarry operators left stockpiles in the middle of the rivers, which were then swept away by the floodwaters from the volcano. The stockpiles, along with the lahar, then reached residential areas and caused the death of some residents based on the department's initial investigation. The DNR added that some quarry operators went beyond the restricted areas.
Na baka may mga quarry operators na doon na sila nagko-quarry sa taas. Pag nag-quarry ka kasi doon sa taas, unstable yon. When heavy rains come, talagang may tendency na magkaroon ng landslide.
In an interview with One News, Albay Governor Al Francis Bichara said they will comply with the order. However, he expressed doubt that the quarrying caused the mudslides. He also warned against outrightly suspending the operations.
Pag tinigil lahat ng quarry, walang supply ng mga aggregates. So, titigil din namin yung mga constructions dito. They should have conducted first an investigation. In the first place, when I was discussing things with the DPWH engineers and the OCD, according to them, yung source ng lahar galing sa itaas, hindi galing sa quarry areas.
For FIVOX, both the DNR and the Albay provincial government have valid points. The agency explains that deposits washed away are too many to have been caused by quarry alone.
Yung quarry, kailangan din nating i-disenyo ng tama. Kasi posible naman yung quarry, kapag hindi maayos, ay ma-divert yung flow. Papunta sa isang lugar na dapat hindi muna tamaan kung hindi na apektuhan yung configuration ng ilog.
FIVOX is now calling on the local government to inspect quarry operations, particularly its design and location, to prevent similar incidents. For its part, the Alianza Tigil Mina is urging the DNR to review all mining and quarry contracts and ensure that climate change assessment is now included. This as more typhoons are to be expected with the onset of La Nina.
Kapag hindi in-update itong mga environmental impact assessment na to, dadami yung mga posibleng dumami yung mga mine accidents.
The DNR targets to wrap up the investigation in less than a month, given the impact of supply of construction materials in the region. The investigation will look into whether some local government and DNR officials, as well as quarry operators, failed in their duties to prevent the landslide. Shaila Francisco, VR1 News.
And one lawmaker says that prolonging the termination of the Visiting Forces Agreement with the United States is a more logical step for the Philippines. In an interview with One News's Agenda, Muntinlupa Representative Rufy Biazon said the country could either notify the U.S. that we are extending the suspension of the VFA abrogation or withdrawing the termination altogether. Congressman Biazon made the remark in the context of the U.S. elections. Earlier this year, President Duterte issued a notice to the United States to formally terminate the VFA. In June, the chief executive decided to suspend the termination for 6 months because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And the winner of the U.S. presidential elections will not be determined by a popular vote, but by what they call the Electoral College. Here's an explainer on what will transpire in the United States in the next few days.
I think we can all agree it's been a long campaign. But tomorrow, you get to pick our next president.
Then Democratic Party candidate Hillary Clinton garnered over 65 million votes in the 2016 U.S. presidential elections. That's 3 million votes more than her opponent, Republican Donald Trump. But why was the latter proclaimed as the 45th U.S. president and not Clinton? It has something to do with the state's unique voting system called the Electoral College. In most democratic countries like the Philippines, the candidate who gets the popular vote wins the election. It's also called the first-past-the-post system. But the U.S. founding fathers beg to differ. According to the 1789 U.S. Constitution, the fate of their new leaders is upon the Electoral College. Delegates from each U.S. state take part in this process. There are a total of 538 electoral votes. The number of Electoral College per state is based on the number of representatives in their Congress. Those numbers are also based on state population. So that means that a voter is not directly choosing their preferred candidate, but instead they are voting on who should their Electoral College pick. And you don't write down the candidates' names, but that of their party. In an interview with One News's Agenda, International Studies Professor Renato De Castro emphasized that it is a winner-take-all scenario.
So if you have 250,000, automatically you have one elector. At before the election, yung Democrats, Republicans, they will already select yung electors. Ngayon sa bawat state, no, for example, ang malaki dyan, California, 55, majority yan eh.
Except for Maine and Nebraska, all states have a winner-take-all system in relation to the Electoral College. A presidential candidate must secure an absolute majority of 270 electoral votes to win. California has the most number of electoral colleges with 55. But this does not necessarily mean that the Golden State is the primary target of presidential candidates. They usually woo voters in the so-called swing states. These are states that are neither solid Democrat nor Republican and can decide a close contest. In 2016, Trump surprisingly amassed all electoral colleges in traditionally Democratic states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. According to the New York Times, the swing states for the 2020 elections are Florida, Georgia, Maine's 2nd District, North Carolina, Ohio, and Texas. Florida is the largest battleground between Trump and Biden, with 29 electoral colleges. The Sunshine State, where most Hispanic voters are registered, took America by surprise when it turned red back in 2016, giving Trump a much-needed boost. Biden's team shelled out $17 million in ads during the last 15 days of the campaign in an attempt to make Florida vote blue again. On the other hand, Trump's team only spent $4 million in ads in the same state. The latest polls are indicating that Biden is leading the race. But with the Electoral College system in place, it can still be anybody's game. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Shawn Yao. We are One News.